let's start with that PLU football game on Saturday. It was homecoming. PLU was playing Whitworth, and the Lutes lost 17-14. Whitworth was missing their stud quarterback. They played the entire game with the backup. Is that correct, DJ?
Yes, it is.
And Lutes were leading 14-10 with 3 minutes left in the first half after DJ.
And at halftime.
Yeah. You scored that 48-yard touchdown that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So PLU getting the big plays that they need. But in the third quarter, Whitworth came up with a big play of their own. Tariq Ellis, the running back for Whitworth, broke off a 60-yard touchdown run right up the middle of the field, and that would go on to be the game winner. It was another week where the PLU offense statistically was a little bit better than the Whitworth offense. PLU gained 345 yards on the day. Whitworth only gained 301. And then the turnover battle, PLU owned it. Whitworth turned the ball over twice, and PLU held on to the biscuit, but still, Lutes end up falling by 3 on homecoming. So, DJ, I'll let you go. Go ahead and say what you want to say. If you don't want to say anything, Seth, we can talk about it.
I guess the only thing I'm going to say is, same story, different day.
Right.
No finishing in the red zone, field goals or touchdowns. Like you said before, we need that big play in order to score. And I think one thing we need to do a better job of is if a play is working, go back to it more than once. I don't want to say too much here because
right.
I do have strong feelings about why we lost.
Well, it's a frustrating situation. You're right in the middle of it. So if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to talk about it at all.
Yeah.
But like we talked about last week, I'm getting more and more bored of hearing how the PLU football team is, 3 plays, 7 yards, and 3.5 minutes from being 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm done listening to stuff like that.
There's a deeper story. There's a deeper story to that, and you could read into it more, but that's really that's where it starts, and then you got to dive deeper into that because that's been a common trend the past couple of years,
right?
And even not so much my sophomore year, we just sucked that year, but
brutal.
Yeah, but my freshman year, the games we lost were close games. Like we lost to Pacific by a field goal.
Yeah.
And then we kind of got our butts kicked by Linfield, but
a lot of people have. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but you got to be able to finish, and we got to find a way to gain those extra points up on the scoreboard. We've had twice this year in the 2 conference games that we have lost. We had linemen downfield, and we scored touchdowns on those plays. That's just as simple as stay flat to the line. That goes back to basic football 101.
Yeah. Overall, it's just a bad loss for PLU again, which is getting tiresome. Let's move on to the happier times because luckily that was the only bummer on homecoming weekend. PLU women's soccer was on the road all weekend long. On Friday night, they beat George Fox 5-0, and then on Sunday, PLU beat Pacific 2-0. The craziest part about this 7-goal weekend was that 7 different players scored over the weekend. That's crazy. Seth, you want to add anything to that, or?
Well, they're 9-1 in conference play right now, so I'm going to assume they're right at the top of their conference.
They are in first place.
And I do have one stat that I really liked about the team so far. In their 10 conference games, they have outscored opponents 27-2, and they've outshot opponents 215-67.
Jeez. They are
very dominant.
The offensive attack is definitely, working out for them.
There's just so many options between Michaela Grady and Kaylee Roselle and Leah McGee, and now Kari Mills is throwing her name in the mix. I mean, there's
Liz Griffith.
Exactly. You can't even name all of them. There's so many. So
yeah.
So the PLU women's soccer team is up to good. Let's move on to another team that's doing great right now. PLU volleyball. They were on the road also. They had games against Whitworth and Whitman.
Big ones.
On Friday night, Whitworth jumped out to a 2-0 lead. PLU was down. Their backs were up against it, and then all of a sudden a come from behind win to take the game 3-2. That win gave PLU sole possession of first place in the Northwest Conference, so that was huge. Mm-hmm. Then on Saturday, PLU swept Whitman 3-0, and kind of a crazy situation. Earlier in the year, PLU lost to Whitman at home, kind of an unexpected little bit of a punch in the mouth, kind of got volleyball back on track. But yeah, 3-2 loss to Whitman earlier in the year, and then they go on the road to Whitman and sweep them 3-0. So good stuff there from volleyball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Julia, I was talking to Julia last night. I'm pretty sure she starts for the team. She's in one of my classes, and she said Whitworth thought they were, the cat's meow after they won those 2 games and got a little big-headed, which the mental side is such a big part of sports. And then PLU was able to come back 25-14, 25-17, and 15-9. So that was a very quality win for the Lutes.
Absolutely. Fun stat, and I don't know how many other PLU coaches I want to know about this stat, but if I am the primary writer for your team on golutes.com, you are in first place right now in your conference. So I don't know what that means for my work schedule coming forward, but I am
Come over to football, man.
That's why I didn't want to let people know about it until now. Yeah, that's kind of a fun little thing that I get to say.
Oh, that's a cool little stat.
It's so meaningless.
That's like one of those Sports Center stats.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh,
No
for 40,
relevancy at all.
Yeah, for 40 plus year old quarterbacks, he's thrown this many touchdowns. Like,
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. It means nothing. Men's soccer. Let's wrap things up with our last major fall sport. At home for the weekend, games against Pacific and George Fox. Mentioned it earlier on Saturday. The Lutes took a 2-0 win over Pacific. They had goals that came from Eddie Na and Joe San Martino. And then on Sunday, the Lutes played George Fox, and it took overtime to find a winner. And let's take a listen to what it sounded like.
It works back to Emmanuel Saar, who's going to try and find one of his teammates up near the box. He finds Eddie Na, who's working 3-on-1. Now Na finds some hole. He takes a shot. It's blocked. And Bennett Bugby now going to do the same. He plays it on the ground to Jackson Moore, who has a shot, and it's deflected. Here's a follow from Chris Trussell, and it's good! PLU takes the game in the first overtime on a goal from Chris Trussell to give them a 1-0 win over George Fox.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like on Sunday afternoon. So
Nice. Hey, nice call.
thanks, man. That was baby's first soccer broadcast. So glad I got to have a game like that to call.
Men's soccer has really, been exciting this year. They're in second. I know they're in second place right now, and
They've won 5 straight, and 3 of those 5 games have been in overtime.
yeah.
So
if
go
you
to a men's soccer game because they're awesome right now.
Exactly.
Oh man, it's been a lot of fun around PLU athletics so far this fall.